Hello, welcome to the Belk on Business podcast. This is Josh Belk, and I appreciate you joining the show today, and I hope to provide value to you on this episode. If you do get value out of this episode, please do me a huge favor and make sure to subscribe to this podcast. And if you're on Apple Podcast, leave me a 5-star review. Thanks again for listening, and enjoy the show. All right, today we're going to talk about creating a customer experience. And I think this is true regardless of what type of business you're in. And I'm going to use some terms here, and they can be used interchangeably, whether it's customer or client. I'm an accountant primarily. I have other businesses I'm involved in, and most of these businesses are service businesses. And for you that listening, you might sell a product. But I think that what I say here is going to be applicable to just about everyone out there. So I'm going to just point out maybe 4 different things that you can consider when it comes to your client experience. I think most of these are going to be relatively obvious, so it's kind of maybe a little bit more of a reminder of maybe some areas in your business you can improve, some areas you can focus on as you work on improving your client experience. It's something I know that for myself I'm working on day by day. This last week I took some time and spent a little bit more time, actually a lot more time in my business working with clients. And I really, one of my big takeaways outside of needing to work on some issues internally was I really needed to step up my game when it came to my interaction with my clients. So I'm just going to mention 4 different areas here that we can consider. First of all, make each customer's experience feel personal to them. Not every customer is going to basically look for the same thing, the same type of experience from you. So you want to try to make that customer experience unique for that person, for the way that they like it. There was a book written years ago called The 5 Love Languages, and a book I think that's for anyone. I think it's crucial. If you're married, I think it's a wonderful book as far as improving your marriage relationship, and it talks about the different ways that people feel loved. And I think there's a lot of parallels there as far as in the way that a client wants to feel the interaction with you. And so kind of think through ways that your clients want to experience that interaction with you. Maybe jot those down, and then for each client, learn how do they want to experience your particular service. So make each customer experience feel personal. And it goes maybe some subcategories to that. How do they want to be contacted? One thing that I do when I initially meet with a client, one question I'll directly ask them was, how do you prefer for me to reach out to you? Do you prefer to be texted? Do you want me to email you? Do you prefer a phone call? Many times, maybe an older client may prefer a phone call. Of course, in this day and age, a lot of younger clients maybe prefer text. I have some clients that just like Facebook Messenger. So find out how they prefer to be contacted, and make sure you're keeping that in your client records. How do they like to be contacted, and make sure that you communicate with them that way. What is their method of processing information? I have some clients that are very visual. So I want to make sure that whatever deliverable that I give to them, that I'm also including a visual type of a presentation. Maybe others just prefer graphics or spreadsheets. And so I want to make sure I'm delivering the information to them in a way that they can consume it in the way that they prefer to have it consumed. Secondly, you may want to consider getting to know your clients on a little bit of a deeper level. So just beyond how do they want to be communicated to, how do they receive information, how do they process information, but sometimes getting to know them a little bit more on a deeper level. In this day and age, we have social media, and this isn't appropriate in every line of business, but especially if you're in a service business, or you're in a business, maybe you are a real estate investor that you work with other investors, for example. It may be a situation to where you want to look at maybe engaging with them on social media. I'm friends with many of my clients on Facebook. I'm connected with many of them on LinkedIn, and I get to know them on a little bit of a deeper level. Find out that I had a client just a couple weeks ago that was on a cruise to Alaska, and we happened to have a phone call last week, and we were able to talk about that a little bit, and kind of got to know him a little bit better through his social media feeds. So if appropriate, communicate with them on social media. When meeting with a client, just go beyond just completing the basic profile. Get to know a little bit about them. I like to find out, is my client married? Do they have children? What are some hobbies? What are their interests? It's especially helpful if maybe I want to send them a gift. I can find out, hey, do they prefer Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, for example? Okay, are they my dentist, for example? He loves going out. He loves hiking. And so he loves experiencing the outdoors. So every time that we go and we have a talk, usually it has to do something with nature. Where have we traveled? And for him toward me, it's really allowed for our dialogue to open up and get to know each other a little bit more. Thirdly, be intentional with your client interactions. Think about how the communication will make you feel. Nowadays, we're very quick to send a text and send an email, and we hit send, and then we go back and after we get a response back from them, we reread what we wrote and say, oh, you know what? I probably should have said that a little bit of a different way. And some very practical things maybe you want to consider. I know for myself, I kind of have this gap of about 30 seconds when I hit send before the email will actually send. Just in case that maybe I forgot to send an attachment. Okay, that's overly practical. But beyond that, just, oh, you know what? Maybe I should have said something a little bit in a little bit of a different way, or maybe I was frustrated, and maybe it gives me that kind of that space to where maybe I can just kind of take a step back and reconsider what I'm going to send. When it comes to a text, I would kind of encourage you never to text in haste if you're frustrated, to kind of take a moment. But always be thinking about how is this client going, how is this email, how is this text, how is this phone call, how is it going to make my client feel? So think about it. And I said kind of my examples there were negative, but also it should be positive. How can I take this information and deliver it to them in a positive way? How can I make every client experience a positive one? Then lastly, support your client interaction with effective tools for communicating. And this may include a website. Have a good website out there if you're in a type of business that a website is crucial. And it can be utilized for such things as appointment scheduling. Nowadays, with certain apps that are out there, it can make scheduling easy. But make sure you make available to your clients the most easy way possible, the easiest way possible for them to communicate with you, to schedule time with you, to be able to reach out to you. And with all these different tools that we have at our disposal, you should use them as far as with your client interactions and to improve the client experience. So, whether it's scheduling, whether it's online portals to share information, video conferencing. This last week, I probably spent 20 hours on Zoom calls. Allowed for me to have some face-to-face interaction with clients that are across the country, where years ago it was just on the phone. To be able to use that technology to be able to communicate with my clients. Podcast, what we're doing here. I think everybody out there, if you listen to Gary Vee, and he talks about this a lot, pretty much all you need now is a phone, and you can record a podcast and distribute a podcast. Maybe that's an effective way of communicating with your clients. And so something maybe also there to consider, maybe workbooks or webinars, many different options that you have out there as far as to be able to communicate with your clients and also to be able to improve your client experience. Hope this was a help to you. This is Josh Belk with the Belk on Business podcast. Have a great day.